Hey there, it's Gabrielle Nicolay from SpeechKids, and today I am rejoined by popular demand with Sally Neuberger, the potty talk lady.
Right.
Before I forget to ask you, Sally, tell us the name of your website,
Sure.
because I
Great.
love it.
So thank you. Thanks for having me back for part two. So it is readysetgopotty.com. And that will link you both, link your viewers into both my into like an overview of my method, and also to connect with me if interested.
Perfect. I love the name. I mean, it's just so fun to say. So,
Right.
you know.
Oh, and then someday, if I ever publish the book, the little button will read, lean to the left, lean to the right, sit down, pee, poop, wipe, wipe, wipe. There you go.
Yes. That's awesome. You have to write this book now, you realize.
Oh, I know. It's, it's so I just got to get moving on it. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder.
Okay. If you want an accountability buddy, I'm happy to do that for you.
Thank you. That's good. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. But today we're going to talk about, so in part one, we'll link to it, obviously, so people can watch it if they haven't yet. We talked about sort of best case scenario. Here's what happens. Here's when kids are ready. Here's when kids are not. Now, 80% of kids are going to learn to use the potty without any kind of problem. And there's another percentage who are going to need a little bit longer or a little bit more treats or whatever. And then there's like the other little part. I call these the orchids.
Yes.
And these guys are hard to potty train.
Right.
So what are some of the things that can go wrong? What walk us through when things don't go as expected? What do we do?
Right. So thank you. That's great. That's a great segue. So you know that the foundation of when I believe kids are ready is that they go through those two windows, one at 2.5, but that is not really when they're ready. And then one closer to age 3, when in fact they will never tell you they're ready. But if they have gone through window 1, are dry for 4 hours, know the language of potty, can pull their pants up and down, really important motor skill, then they're hypothetically ready for a potty boot camp weekend. That's what we spoke about before.
Yep.
So a few things that can go wrong before, let's just talk about what could go wrong before age 3.
Great.
Because I think that lots of times, just because parents are new at this deal, they don't think that these things are connected. So the first thing that I always ask about is whether there has been any developmental blip, whether there has been a language blip, a gross motor blip, a fine motor blip, a social emotional blip. And if there has been some sort of a delay in any of those skills, it is likely that potty training will be delayed too, because motor is motor is motor. And I can't even, I'd be a rich woman if I could tell you how many times parents have reached out and said, well, he had a language delay, but it resolved.
Yeah.
So I think that it isn't always a clear association that if there's any kind of a motor delay, it likely impacts the lower pelvic area and alertness. And so that could get in the way even at age 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
this is why you and I like each other so much, because everything in childhood is connected. There is no such thing as he just has fill in the blank. There's no such thing.
And I know that, and I know how disappointing it is because, as parents, we want our kids to catch up.
Yeah.
And they do catch up, but all of those skills are connected.
Yeah. Yep.
The second thing that can interfere prior to age 3 is constipation. Mm-hmm. And constipation, believe it or not, is also correlated with motor. Because you have to have the ability to activate those lower core muscles in order to easily push out poop and pee. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing prior to age 3 that interferes is how much of a potty dance that family has been doing for so long before they actually, before their kiddo's actually ready. If they really started this at 18 months and they have been doing time training for 18 months, that can impact a child's readiness because they likely are not ready because they're sick of all things potty.
When you
And
say
they're
time training, that's, I set a clock, I put the kid on the potty for 2 minutes.
not even, it's actually parent alertness training, which would
Oh.
be parents alerting to the wiggle factor
Oh,
and parent alerting, oh, it's been 3 hours since she peed. Come on, honey, we need to go pee.
got it.
So when the parent is responsible for that task, then the child doesn't need to be. But
Okay.
if that has been going on for 8 months, it could be pretty tedious. And by that point, there's this unspoken dance which occurs, which is, oh, mom and dad will tell me when I need to pee. I don't need to listen to my body.
Interesting. Okay, so short-term gain, long-term pain, because we haven't taught the awareness of the internal signal.
Right.
And it
And
seems like a win, but it's actually not.
it's not, because
Mm.
if kids don't alert to it, then we're still driving the bus.
Yeah.
And right.
Now we're gonna have some parents who are like, well, what's wrong with me driving the bus? My kid doesn't know when they need to go, and I'm sick of diapers.
Right. And so I am sympathetic to sick of diapers, but if you're sick of diapers before age 3, then you just sort of have to be prepared that you're going to take over. Look, parents can take over at age 2 and kids can be successful, but they are not successful independently, and parents cannot be furious if, accidents then therefore are not the child's accident. It's the parent's accident for not alerting.
And then what we started to talk about too is those orchid kids, they're not actually going to learn in this time frame that appears very reasonable when parent is saying, okay, I got to be in charge of this for whatever, 6, 8, 10 months. And then gradually this is going to happen on its own.
Right.
That doesn't gradually happen on its own when we're talking about orchid children. And I just want to be really clear about orchid children, and there's plenty of it on my website, but these are the guys who are challenging, obstinate, shy, slow. They've got glitches, motor glitches, language glitches, all the things that you were talking about earlier. The kids who are a little bit harder to raise, a little bit needier. Yeah.
Right. And so those kids, I try to help coach parents to tolerating that they wait a while.
Yeah.
So those are the kids that, and by the way, those kids may not go through window 1 because cognitively they may have just skipped over the social enthusiasm of all things potty that is when that happens in window 1 at a 2.5. So they may miss that. If that happens, then I tell orchid parents that what they should do is help their kiddos do as much social teaching in advance. And then let their child know that they are going to be doing a Hello Potty weekend to see if their bodies are ready. And here comes the best word, yet.
Nice. Okay.
So yet implies that it's going to happen sometime, but it might not be yet. Okay. And so that is really an opportunity, when parents say, oh, he had a language delay, but he's caught up. Mm-hmm. I really think he's ready. Mm-hmm. I'm like, great, let's do a weekend, but let's see what a baseline looks like for him or her. And if in fact they accomplish some of the tasks, but not others, then we'll figure out how to support those.
Yep.
So those are all the things that can and do interfere right around 3.
I love that. Okay. Yeah.
So then we move up a little bit to those 3.5. And those are sometimes parents who say, she'll tell me when she's ready.
Okay.
And
so this is kind of the opposite extreme. It's like, I'm hands off until child indicates, and then child is not indicating.
Right. So the good news is that 2 children will indicate. At 3, they will never indicate. They will never indicate again they're interested because they've moved on to so many other developmental tasks. They want to ride scooters and they want to build with Legos and they want to play with friends and they want to be cranky, but they have zero interest in all things potty.
Well, and let me stop here for a second because I've had plenty of kids where we're in therapy or they're playing and I'm watching, they're, as you say, they are busy and they have the capacity, the mental capacity now at age 3 to understand that the world keeps going when I'm not here.
Right.
So
Yes.
if I have to take a potty break, everybody else is going to keep playing. Oh my God.
Right.
What would you choose?
Right. Oh, for sure. And I think that one of the wisdoms that occurred when my own kids were in preschool is the answer to that is that we had a really wonderful teacher who put up a stop sign
Yes.
in front of, right, the stop sign in front of whatever task was being completed. And that was a message to others to leave it alone, that they were coming back to it very quickly.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
So, but developmentally, all that stuff is happening at 3. So sorry, I interrupted you again.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
And so the kiddo who says, I'll do it on when I'm 3.5. I'll do it when the flowers come up. I'll do it when grandma comes to visit. And that's a delay. Then for those kids, we give them a 1-month warning that their bodies are ready to do this. And by the way, remember, we are never using big girl, big boy language again, because big girl language implies that a child has to choose between being a big girl or a baby. Who wants that choice? So we are going to describe what their bodies are ready to do rather than label who we want them to be.
I love that. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you will always be my baby. You will be my baby till you're 45. I'll rock you until you're 52, but your body can practice new things. So that's a win-win.
Yeah.
So for those 3.5 ambivalent ones, we say, your body is ready to practice this. We think this, your teacher thinks this, grandma thinks this, your doctor thinks this. We all know that you're ready to practice this. So I'm giving, so this is a warning for the next 3 weeks. We're not going to talk about all things potty, but then we're going to do a hello potty weekend and let's see how it goes. For those parents who at 3.5, whose kiddos have just sort of missed the window for whatever reason, so for them, we're going to do, we'll see, let's see how it goes.
Got it.
And then that eliminates some of the pressure that parents put on themselves and their kiddos.
Yeah.
I just want to do a COVID commentary here, however, which is really interesting. I was talking to a pediatrician yesterday who said, and I said, so something significant is happening around potty training. So those 3-year-olds who should be ready have not been in school and they have not had social models teaching them about this upcoming skill that they're going to have. And so at 3, they're not even realizing that their bodies are ready to do it because they haven't seen peers do it. So that's an alert to, parents. And, I think that the answer to that is, Potty Power, that video. And or it's
that video. Potty
it's a
Power.
YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a YouTube video, Potty Power. It shows actual kids sort of running to the potty. Nice. And sort of at least getting started. And for those kids who have not been exposed to other peers, that is, that plus books is a good idea.
All right, we're gonna link to those in the notes.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Good.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so we walked sort of through these developmental stages. We sort of ruled out the motor and the language kids, but can we bring them back into this conversation?
Yes.
So when we have kids who have had either a history or ongoing sensory motor profile, what do we do about those guys? I'm thinking in particular, actually, if I can throw a case study at you. 4.5, 5-year-old who still needs to poop in the diaper.
Yeah.
Because body just like clenches and goes into overdrive when this little person thinks about going on the potty.
I know that kid.
I had a feeling you did.
I do. So at 4.5, remember that kid now has had 2 years of doing potty dance as they know it. So once again, what we do is we prepare that child for something new coming and the fact that their body is ready to practice something new. But it's really important with those kids over 3.5 that we also correlate in emotion.
Yeah.
So we're going to use the language of, yes, this is scary. You are right. This is new. New things are scary. However, we also know that, if we practice them 10 times, they become less scary, and pretty soon you become a poopy pro. On the flip side, it's time for us to practice this. So with 4.5-year-olds, I actually do have a pretty well-regarded protocol, which is, so over 4, you address this differently, especially if it's poop, and generally it's almost always poop. If it's pee poop, you address it the way you do when you're 3. But if it's just poop, so the first thing is, if it's a little boy, the first question I always ask is, have you taught him how to pee standing up, or is he still peeing sitting down?
Right.
And the answer to that one is often, oh, standing up. And I said, right. So he stands up to pee, so he understands that the only way to poop is standing up as well. Yeah. He has never learned how to poop in a seated position, which, by the way, that adage of we never teach little boys to pee sitting down until standing up until they have pooped sitting down 10 times.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
With those 4.
Say that one more time, just
yeah.
to be sure, because that was new last time we talked. It's in the first one, but let's repeat it here.
Sure. So that we never teach little boys to pee standing up until they have pooped sitting down 10 times. And the reason why is because when they learn to pee standing up, they never learn to poop sitting down, because they then have on their diapers and they continue to poop by either doing a slight squat or legs rigid, or, standing and, holding onto a chair, or going into a closet and holding onto a dresser or whatever.
It's my favorite, when they go in the corner to poop, and they're looking right at you, but they're in the corner.
Right. And they even say to you sometimes, though at 4, they never say this to you, but at 3, they'll say, I'm pooping. Yes, right. Which is a great time for a infomercial on, pretty soon we're going to teach you how to do that in a seated position.
Right. Yeah.
And so with the 4.5-year-old protocol really goes sort of like this. And I really would recommend that they reach out to me or to you about how this really works in terms of steps.
Yeah.
But basically what we do is, the first thing we do is we teach them how to sit and blow.
Yes.
And that is done when they have their pull-ups on, or when they have their underwear on, on the potty, but with no intent that they're going to be successful. Yeah. And we teach them the blowing exercises of, the bubble wand, and the windmill pinwheel, and the kazoo or the party blower, and my favorite one, which is blow me over, which is when a parent stands in front of you and says, okay, honey, blow me across the room. Right. And the kiddo is in the correct body position, which is that C mountain position, feet on the floor, elbows on the knees, and not on the toilet, on the little potty.
Yep.
On the floor. Okay.
Feet are so important here. Okay. We pause.
That's right. Right.
About feet. Feet have to be on something stable.
But the danger of putting it on is like having like an insert on the toilet with a step stool, is that it still leaves kids feeling disorganized, because they wonder where their body is in space, right?
Yes.
Like they wonder, am I going to fall off? Am I going to fall in? Is it going to splash me? Am I going where it's going? All of those questions. So too complicated. So that on the floor potty, and kids will say, I'm too old for that. And then parents then say, we are so sorry. We made a mistake. We never taught you how to do this. And this is what you need to do it on. Once you've deposited in there 5 times, we can move you to the toilet.
Love.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so first we teach them how to sit and blow. And by the way, as a speech pathologist, you can probably appreciate the one of, so I ask parents to make sure where the blow is coming from. If it's coming from the upper chest, it's likely that they're not activating their lower muscles. So I ask them to do the ho, ho, ho test, that if a child can say ho, 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 and their belly really moves, then they have access to those lower core muscles, and there's a better prognosis.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, as you're talking, right, you just start to realize it's all connected.
It is all connected. 100%. And so then from there, we move to the kiddo who really is rigid around the diaper. So we do a week of that. And then we say, okay, 5 days of, you can still poop in your diaper, but you can only do it in the bathroom.
Yep.
Because then we are socializing them to the bathroom.
Mhm.
And then the next step is you can be in the bathroom, you can have your diaper, and you need to do a tiny squat.
Mhm.
Not sitting, just bend your knees a little bit while you're pushing out your poop.
Mhm.
And then the squat moves into a medium squat and then a big squat. At that point, they're hovering over the little potty. And if we can get them pooping in the diaper in a seated position on the potty, on the little potty within the correct position,
Mhm.
we're golden. You're just about there.
Yep.
And then what we begin doing is cutting holes in the diaper.
Yes. And this sounds like such an extreme
Takes a
measure.
long time.
Allie, people are like, what do you mean I'm going to let my kid poop in the diaper when they're right over the potty? It doesn't make any sense, but it does. Because really what you're talking about is this, I mean, it's discrete trial, what you're doing.
It is discrete trial.
Broken the task into tiny, tiny manageable chunks so that we're not asking child to eat the entire elephant of potty training.
Right.
We're teaching them one bite at a time.
Because if they could have, they would have.
That's right.
Right. And so, the other piece about that is that when we break it into smaller parts, it diminishes the anxiety and it diminishes the performance anxiety. So it's just like,
by the way,
and the resistance, right? So we're going to practice this for 5 days and then we'll move a little bit more. And then we'll move a little bit more. In answer to your question of what do we have to promise here? Like, no, they don't need a trip to Mars and they don't need they don't need an American Girl doll. At 4, the internal pleasure of accomplishing this task supersedes anything we can promise them. So the answer to what do we promise them is we will promise them that as they accomplish this, they will be proud of themselves.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's like your ball of wax. And it isn't about pleasing mom and dad. It's about, oh, honey, I can see you are so excited for yourself. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other piece about that age is that you have to match. You can't do an emotional battle around this. And in fact, your emotion, the parent emotion needs to be less than the child's emotion. So at that point, likely 4.5-year-olds don't want a lot of enthusiasm because they've had so many opportunities to fail at this task. So instead, it's that neutral thing of, oh, yeah, that was a really great knee bend. Well done.
I'm such a fan of that. Like, oh,
yeah,
I noticed that wasn't really hard for you today. I noticed that you did that really well. Yeah, I'm a big fan of I noticed, like,
and curious, but it also teaches kids that they can be curious about their own bodies and their own actions and about the struggles that come their way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is true of any learning task, which is if we're stressed out brains don't learn.
For sure.
I mean, you can't learn anything in stress. And so and particularly around potty training, I feel like parents stress themselves out. They stress their kids out. Kids are already stressed because it's loud and it moves fast and it flushes and God, it's big and all the things. And there's a lot of pressure from adults who they want to please. If they could, they would. So people are stressed about potty. And so just like taking it down a few notches, right?
And I mean, and I think that parents are reasonably horrified. Like I just finished an email right now before I visited with you from a parent who said, so how long is this, break it down going to take? And I said, I had a family once where it took 6 weeks. And I said, but 6 weeks later, they were where they needed to be. So you choose.
Yeah. Yes. You always choose. Yeah. Oh man, I feel like we can go another half hour, but we're going to leave it there.
Thank you for your time and kudos to you for, being such a great collaborator around kiddo development.
Oh my gosh, it's what I love. And thank you for having this fun with me. Till next time.
See you soon. Thank you.